got one more story left in the first act, and it belongs to Ann Abel. Hello. Look at her dress, everybody. It's amazing. I'm going to work on this mic stand later. I think this works for you. Go get her.
I'm sitting on a plane, clutching the armrest and reminding myself to breathe. I'm not worried the plane will crash. I'm worried it will land in Boston as planned. I love my parents, but they've never been able to love me back. When I was 3, my mother told me I was self-centered. When I was 11, and told me I had to start washing my own clothes. When I was 11, she said she'd disown me if I didn't marry someone Jewish. And when I was 25, she followed me into the bathroom during my wedding reception and told me my marriage would never last. And all I really need to tell you about my father is that when I was 7, he threw my beagle puppy down the stairs and killed him. But I loved my parents, which is why I'm on a plane to Boston to visit them. At the age of 45, I was still trying to be part of their family. I'm staring ahead at the gray headrest in front of me, but what I'm seeing is the moment my parents will open the door and stare until I drop my head and follow them in. My trance is broken when my son taps me on the arm and says, "Mommy, do you want something to drink?" I look up at the smiling flight attendant in her beverage cart, and I say, "I'll take 3 bottles of scotch." And I slip them in my pocket. My son seems surprised, but I'm more surprised because I don't drink. I got drunk in college once, and the hangover was so bad I never wanted to do it again. I thought of scotch only because that's what my mother-in-law liked. At the airport, we get into the cab. We're 10 minutes from my parents, and I am terrified. I pull out the bottles, slink into my seat, gulp one down, and wait a second. I don't feel any different, so I gulp down the other 2. On the elevator ride up, I am feeling pretty okay. My parents open the door and give me their stare, and I say, "Hi!" And I lean forward and give my mother's stiffening body a hug and catch my father before he can get away and give him a kiss on the cheek. And for the rest of that visit, instead of feeling small and shrinking into the corner of the couch, I'm feeling regular-sized. I'm laughing, talking, bragging about my kids. Toward the end of the evening, my father takes me aside. "Ann, I don't think I've ever seen you like this." I smile. And on the way out that night, I think, some occasions just call for 3 bottles of scotch. 3 months later, I'm on my way back from my father's birthday alone. Everyone else is busy. The day before the trip, I buy 3 airline-sized bottles of Johnnie Walker Red. And the next day, I guzzle all 3 bottles on the walk to the restaurant. Alone with my parents, I never say anything. At the dinner table when I was growing up, my father would say, "You can listen, but don't speak." But that night at the restaurant, I spoke. I talked about going back to school. I talked about books I'd read, plays I'd gone to, movies I'd seen. They said nothing. I asked them about books they'd read, movies they'd gone to, plays they'd seen. They said nothing. After dinner, I wrapped my arms around my mother's wooden body, gave my father a kiss, and said, "This has been really fun." They said, "Good night." My next trip back was for Thanksgiving. My sisters and their families were going to be there. The first thing I packed for the 3-day weekend were 9 airline-sized bottles of scotch. At the hotel, I went into the bathroom and downed my allotted 3. The door to their apartment was open when we got there, and my parents were in the living room laughing and talking with my sisters. I walked over and said, "Hi." They stopped and stared. Then my father said, "Ann, are you drunk?" I looked at my father, I looked at my mother, and then they turned their backs on me. I was stunned. Even in the warm glow of the scotch, I felt crushed. Before long, I was cringing into my corner of the couch. I was just another drunk at Thanksgiving. That night at the hotel, I didn't even take my coat off before passing out on the bed. The next morning, my head was throbbing, my lips were stuck to my teeth, and I could feel my stomach coming up through my throat. As soon as I could stand up, I found the 6 remaining bottles and threw them in the trash. I thought I had found the answer, but it was an illusion. I was never going to feel part of that family. I don't drink Johnny Walker Red anymore. It makes me sick. But once in a while, if I go to a dinner party and someone offers me a glass of wine, I take it, and I can handle it. I don't visit my parents anymore. They make me sick. But occasionally, I see them at a wedding or a funeral, and when I do, it's sad to be sure, but I can handle it.